Is life feeling like it's literally falling apart? You have been on a healing and spiritual journey for years now, but all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, this could be months or years where you feel like things are really falling apart. Things that used to make sense or used to work, routines, ways of thinking, relationships, your work, your romantic relationships, all of these things, they are literally falling apart. And you're like, what is going on? I understand this so well. I have been going through this journey myself for 5 years of this particular deeper dark night of the soul, last 3.5 incredibly intensely. And I had no idea what was going on. I was busy on the internet, like you guys, searching for like, what is going on. Like, my own personal story was health started to just go absolutely crazy. I was extremely burnt out. I was getting lots of autoimmune illnesses and my body was completely out of whack. I had gone through a journey where I left the corporate world and started my business, but the way I was running that business started to just not agree with my body in a really intense way. Certain things worked and I could make money doing my business. And those things literally stopped making me money. It's like anything that was like trauma or survival responses, they just stopped working. Relationships that I'd had my entire life that had been such a support, such a great place of love for me, started to feel very cage-like and triggering. It felt like it was overnight. I had a whole audience that I had built, and these people were no longer coming to me. And it was just so bizarre. I was like, what's going on? So, whether you're an entrepreneur or a light worker, you'll be seeing this in every area of your life. But even if you're not an entrepreneur yet, career just doesn't make sense. You are no newbie to healing or to waking up or to raising your consciousness or to doing the inner work. But this is a lot, and I really know it's a lot. So I want to give you some resources to support you during this time. First of all, we're going to talk through what is going on. You are going through your second awakening. I'm going to explain what both those are so you just have some structure to understand what is going on. Okay. Then we're going to go through the winter stage of healing. This is the season that you're in, just so you really understand that your soul is pushing you through this time for a reason. It has a bigger thing that you can't see of why this is going on. So the first part of this podcast is really going to help you understand what's going on, to try to help calm down that chaos that you're in right now, that fear and just feeling quite lost. And then I'm going to give you 4 of my tips of how to navigate this stage so that you can process what's going on. And really, it's to rebirth you into your soul expansive self and life. So that's what the whole purpose of this is. It's that you already started your process long ago, 2011, 2012, where you started to get like almost like get the little inklings of waking up. I'm by no means an expert in astrology, but I love using it as a guide for patterns. And so we've had Neptune in Pisces since 2011 to early 2026. And that was all about like spiritual awakenings, higher consciousness. We learned lots about manifestation. You guys would have seen like this has come into the world during that time, but that has now shifted into Aries. So that is much more about embodiment. So it's not just waking up the mind, it means actually changing our lives align with our heart and souls. So that's what's going on. So I'm going to explain all of that so you get some clarity. And then I'm going to take you through the 4 things that I wish I knew when I was like, what's going on? And I was frantically searching the internet, investing in people that just did not understand. So it was a complete waste of money and it made me feel more lost and more alone. So I want to go through what those 4 points are. And at the end as well, I'm going to share a practice around grief because this does bring up a lot of grief. So we're going to talk about how you do that, why it's important for you to process that. We've already had a dark night of the soul, but this is like 1,000 times worse. I love the dark goddess that is Sedna and her story because I found it when I was going through this stage, and you may have already found it. This might be the first time that you're hearing about it. And it's that she is clinging onto her father's boat. She's clinging onto her old life, and he cuts off her fingers. And this is a journey that I have been through myself, but I've also seen my clients go through it as well. So for me, the cutting off of my fingers was a shock because I already was having things happen, but I was kind of just carrying on in my old ways of people pleasing, of overworking, of numbing myself with whatever I could find, with relationships that were imbalanced. I was still clinging on to that life, but then I lost a baby. I had a miscarriage. And then I started to become very aware of how unsafe I felt in my body. But still, I clung on because I was like, okay, I don't feel safe. What I'll do is I'll go make loads of money in my business. That will make me feel safe. And I did, and that made me feel very, very sick. My symptoms got so much worse. My autoimmune, couldn't get pregnant again. I just started to see all the ways that I ran my life, from eating, from the way I was in relationships, were just so bad for me. But still hanging on, carrying on everything, like the way I was running my business, the way I was running my life. So eventually it got worse and worse and worse. People, relationships lashing out on me. So I couldn't ignore it anymore. It looked like all of the clients that used to come to me no longer coming to me. Like it's like my Instagram just stopped making any money for years. It was just wild, right? So I was clinging on to that boat and it was like, no, this is not alignment. This is not in alignment. You are still in survival. You are still in survival. Let me chop your fingers off. And then I just went deep, deep, deep into the underworld, which is the water, the unconscious, the deep in there, dissolving the ego and the survival self. And what I now know is I first had my first awakenings. This looks like waking up, right? Maybe where you learn about generational trauma. This is maybe when you learn about your inner child healing. Maybe you went to therapy and you've been reading self-help books and listening to podcasts and you're starting to go, oh my God, this is what happened to me. And you have that wake up, initially. So that first one, and like it could be any time between 2011 and 2026. Clients of mine, they left a really stressful career and had a big career change. For me, it was a really painful relationship ending with somebody that was just not good for me. And I had to face a lot of things about myself. That's what really woke me up. So relationships, it could be the grief or loss of somebody. It could be health challenges. It's not something we choose. It kind of chooses us. And that's our soul going, okay, we need to get her on the right path. We're going to crank up her pain now. That's what you would have had in that first awakening, which is very much the mind. It's very much your consciousness. It's the more masculine side of you, right? So it's thinking, right? And we've seen that really big in the collective, in the world. Like I always find it so interesting now, like people on just regular TV talking about manifestation. We all talk about self-care and mental and emotional well-being. I'm a tea practitioner and people will talk about tapping in like the regular normal world and not just in my holistic kind of world. So we've seen a big change in the awakening, like understanding like unhealthy patterns. But the second awakening, which could have been bubbling for a long time, but is escalating for you now. So the pain is getting worse and worse. Like me, you're really fucking hanging on. I'm starting to notice that the job doesn't make sense, the friends don't make sense, the romantic love doesn't make sense. The body, when I was going through this stage, I just didn't even know how to dress anymore. I didn't know who I was. I felt proper crazy at times. When I had health issues and lost a baby and things like that, the world is saying, oh, to fix this problem, you need to go and IVF and do these other things and eat this and do this. But that felt so wrong to me. But I'd still do it because I'm a people pleaser and I'm hanging on to the boat and it wouldn't work. It would set me back a lot of money and I would just feel like shame and like I was failing. So that's the other thing. When we are desperately searching for like, how do I fix this? It actually can make it worse. I really do believe that I was swimming around in that for 5 years because I had so much resistance to actually trusting myself and what was going on within me, because I actually did know how to get myself through this. I could hear my soul whispering to me about it. I did do it, but it was like I would ignore and trust everybody else. Like if my husband thought this was the better way for me to have a child, I would listen to him, even though I knew my body felt like it was on fire. So it's just this journey of coming back into your body. So the second awakening is the feminine. It's the descent into your body. Like the first is the ascent into the mind and into waking up to consciousness and God and spirituality and a different way of things. And then the second is coming into the body and actually feeling God in your body, in like pleasure and joy, and your life being in alignment, and how you live and how you're living each day. Please do share in the comments if you can relate to this, and sharing what made you go in. Health issue, it could have been a baby thing. I see a lot of people, it's their spirit baby calling them into the descent into the body, which makes sense because you're like going to have a child. It could be affecting your relationship life because they're like, this is the dad I want, love, not that one. So when we go descent into the body, what I started to notice, which is why I felt so overwhelmed, I started to notice how my body felt because I was sick, I was so exhausted, I'd lost a baby. I started to really feel like, oh my God, this relationship feels really unsafe. I feel really ick when I follow this business strategy that my mentor told me to do, and it makes me feel unwell. Well, oh, I'm forcing myself to be seen, but I've got so much anxiety in my body. I'm not sleeping because all day I'm worrying about what could go wrong. So you start to really begin to feel what it's like in your body, like the overwhelm, the anxiety, the misalignment, like you're actually beginning to feel it. And that can feel so overwhelming compared to the first time, because the first awakening, I say from experience, I was very much disassociated from my body. My mind had woken up, but the rest of me had not. My soul, my intuition, those things had woken up. But like, as in, like how unsafe I felt around certain situations, how I didn't have boundaries, how I was in so many ways in an unhealthy maiden feminine expression. So that's like a lot of powerlessness and a lot of chasing love and a lot of fear and anxiety and hypervigilance. So that's the kind of woman that I was, and that's what was living in my body. And when this happened and I got like the warning signs from my body, that's when I started to just basically ask myself the question, where don't I feel safe in life? What's making me feel unsafe? Like that was simply that. And then I started to notice all of the places that I didn't feel safe. What doesn't feel good to me? And all of the things that were showing up in my life that didn't. This is that feminine awakening. So we need both the masculine and the feminine, the mind and the body and the soul. And so this is bringing that into your life. And it can feel so extreme. You are destined to follow this path. I've really meant for this kind of awakening. Those of you are meant to break the cycle fully and embody a new paradigm in your families, with your children, in the families that you birth. Those of us are being really called to this path. And it feels very intense because you're feeling all those things that you have never felt. And then life doesn't really make any sense anymore. These friendships don't make sense. This family doesn't make sense. This house doesn't make sense. This money doesn't make sense. This career doesn't make sense. This body doesn't make sense. Like everything feels weird. Like how I dress, people pleasing doesn't make sense. I don't want to do that anymore. Properly, like what's going on. So that's the second one. And that's why it feels so much more intense than the first one, because it's your entire body and it's your connection to your own spirit, your own truth, your own connection to the divine. That's why when you go into that descent, going into that underworld, going into your own unconscious, you will start to see a lot of the shadow patterns within you, a lot of the unconscious patterns of you. So it really does bring us deep into my second point. What happens is you go into a healing winter. If you're anything like me, right? So you've been on this healing journey. This is my vision board. This is my affirmations. This is like what I want to manifest, a hustler for the creating of the new life, right? And it did work for a while there. You realize that you've just basically been in like summer and spring mode for ages. You're setting your intentions, you're having them in your reality. If that's something that you had been experiencing, you're able to manifest things. And that's cool, right? That's great. But for your soul, it will go through death and rebirth cycles in your life. If you can resonate with that first awakening, that second awakening that I'm talking about, you've already experienced some kind of death and rebirth, and maybe more gentler cycles of that, of like if you changed your career, or if you had a relationship breakdown or a loss of someone, and the person that you were before the loss and the person that you were after the loss was a rebirth, where you're going into the darkness and like you can't really see what's happening and you're feeling really lost. This can be an extended time for that, especially when we are not allowing ourselves to really surrender to this process. The example that I always think of, nature really helps me with this, is that nobody is shouting at a tree. Like it's spring here in the UK and there's loads of trees with blossom on it. And nobody is shouting at a blossom tree in the winter saying you are not performing, you don't have fruits, you don't have flowers, you are a complete failure of a tree because it's winter and you are not blossoming, or you're an apple tree and you're not giving me apples all winter, right? But we as humans are so judgmental and so shameful when we are going through a winter season, especially the last few years where there was not like the greatest external results. Like I was still supporting my clients and they were still having great results and there was still things going on. I wasn't having this big expansion in my business that I really wanted. I wasn't having this big expansion in my family. I wasn't having this big shift. But there was so much going on beneath the surface in the roots of my own tree. Just like an apple tree, a blossom tree is doing all kinds of things in those winter months where it looks like it's asleep, but actually there's so much going on underneath. And that is what's happening in your winter season. When I work with people and they've had great loss in their life, like relationship breakdowns, baby loss, or health challenges, and they're being called into that like feminine descent, they want it over in a second because that pain is intense. But when you are doing the reconfiguration for an absolutely huge expansion, which your brain, your little intention, your little vision on your vision board cannot even imagine what that's going to be. Now, I'll give you an example. So, when I was terrible with my relationship with men, and I was like, okay, I really need to sort that out. I never knew that it was part of a pathway, a winter season, where I would be healing, going through all of this stuff that would find its way into a course that has helped people all around the world. That I would be doing masterclasses for thousands of people. I would have a podcast sharing those stories to help thousands of people around the world. I didn't know that when I was going through that winter season. I was just heartbroken that a man didn't choose me. And then I was aware of the patterns that I was in that created that reality, and that actually to have a different one, I'm going to have to do this inner work. That was the winter. And then because of that descent of the winter at that time, that when I came out of it and I manifested my husband and had all these lessons that I wanted to share with the world that grew this business that has made me multi six figures by doing this work. I didn't know any of that from that winter. You might have an idea of what you might desire, and that's always great because it keeps you motivated. And even you guys might be noticing that even though you're swimming around in the shit right now, you're like, I have this deep longing to be a mother. I have this deep longing to be a leader. I have a deep longing to help serve others. And for me, that was motherhood, yes, but also I wanted to be somebody that could share my wisdom with the world, and for these two dreams to work in harmony with each other. And anybody that was teaching me how to run a business was teaching me how to run it in a way that was quite bad for my body. I didn't really understand how that would work if I had a family. And these two things just kept hitting against each other. And I just thought, well, if I work on the business and I get in a certain way, then maybe that will feel better. But it was because I didn't realize that actually my soul was taking me through this winter season, this descent, to help me to learn those lessons, which are now coming out into the world in through the videos I'm sharing and in my communities, as I'm getting more and more women that have been going through this darker journey and have not felt held when they've invested in mentorship or even therapy and coaches, because they have whoever's guiding them hasn't gone this deep themselves, and therefore they like, you're the problem because they can't understand what's happening here. So, and I wouldn't have known any of that if I hadn't gone through the winter and the fire myself. So you don't even know where this winter season is actually even taking you. And if you avoid it, if you try to make it into something else that it's not, I did this, so no shame. It takes longer. It's more painful. There's more cutting off those fingers, basically. What I started to notice, I wasted loads of energy. This is the example I use. I'm like doing, trying to fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. But then there's all this resistance from my body because there's so many patterns that I've been in my life that are basically harming my body. So my body will not let me carry them on. And I'm getting nowhere, but I'm burning lots of energy, getting nowhere. That's what it was like. And when I just finally surrendered and just was like, okay, I'm just going to be present to whatever is coming up. The example I'll give is winter. If you are like looking out the window, going, where's the sunshine? Where's the blossoms? Where's the apples? Where's the butterflies? Oh my God, that's not there. Winter is so bad. But you know what I've noticed? Winter is so lovely when you are home with the fire on, cozy clothes, blanket, making yourself like really nourishing meals, journaling, reading a good book. You are fully surrendering to winter and allowing winter to do its thing on you, right? You're not trying to make winter into your most successful season because it's colder and darker and stuff like that. That's what this winter is like. And that the more you surrender and the deeper that you go into it, the greater the rewards. I am on the other side and beginning to see the benefits of that. And one of the greatest ways that I am seeing benefits, again, this is not something I consciously even asked for when I was at the beginning of this process. I was like, can we just expand my business and my family, please? Like, that was pretty much it. Is I'm able to call this video and not have any anxiety, which I used to have so much anxiety. I used to have a massive fear of being seen. I used to carry an intense level of shame, self-hate. So even though I was visible online, there was a lot of shame that I was carrying about the way that I looked or afraid of being rejected. All of that has gone. So I used to be highly anxious, like a high functioning anxious person. That has pretty much gone. I used to be scanning for danger all of the time, gone. I used to be always like, okay, I can only feel good if I'm making results or making money and achieving, because otherwise I'm worthless as a person, gone. I have a level of peace I've never experienced in my life. I have the joy of doing the job I love and it paying my bills, living in a beautiful home, married to a wonderful man. But what the greatest thing is now is that I can actually enjoy those things because I couldn't enjoy them before. I couldn't even allow myself to receive the love of my husband, even though I'd done all this work on myself, because I was disconnected from my body and I didn't feel safe because of so many things. And part of the journey was getting to know every single part of me that was afraid, that was unsafe from my childhood of like complex trauma and things like that. So I have this incredible level of peace in my life and I have relationships that are nourishing. I get to earn money doing a job I absolutely love. I have had health changes, like my autoimmunes are better. I sleep now, for example. I had an amazing sleep last night. That was unheard of. I no longer feel guilt for nourishing and taking care of myself. I no longer abandon or betray myself in relationships. I've walked away from any kind of relationship that felt unsafe or balanced to me. I have a really high standard of relationships that I have around me. And none of those things would have happened if I hadn't gone through the descent, which is why it is so, so essential for where you are at right now. This is the beauty of this season. The ego is like, well, you didn't get your baby or your multi-million pound business yet. Okay, so that was your intention on your vision board. But oh my God, have I become the mother of the child that I would like to be? That woman that lost her baby wasn't taking care of herself, was in a state of anxiety constantly, was numbing, was really disassociated from her body and her life, wasn't feeling joy or happiness. I teach about the nervous system. My nervous system was completely out of whack trying to get pregnant and having a baby. I am not like that anymore at all. And I'm just still like following the internal steps of what my intuition is telling me for my desires. But none of that would have been possible if I hadn't really surrendered to the winner stage. I really want to take the shame out of it. And I really want you to understand it's such an important part of your soul journey, your soul evolution. You weren't just meant to break a cycle. You are here to build the new. You are here to build new families, new careers, new businesses, new whatever in alignment with your soul. So that is why you are in the hugest death portal of your life. That is why you are in the biggest winter that you've ever experienced. And it's all for you. It's not, even though it feels so disorientating. We're going to go on to the 4 things that I would say is so important to support you during this period of your life. Accept that this is where you're at. Accept it. Just accept it, that you are in your winter season, that it is cold and wintry, and get yourself cozy, get yourself present in that. So that means don't make your schedule so busy, right? Take away the things that don't feel good to you anymore and really listen to your intuition in your soul, and whatever is coming up for you, that's your soul like bringing it up. So if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed or griefy or sad, that's what you need to work with at the time. So it's not about external things, it's about what's coming up within me, what's requiring my attention, and what's being mirrored to me in this moment. So it's just being really present to what is and taking really amazing care of yourself as much as you can. An essential part of this process is acceptance and becoming aware of what is coming up, because you are being shown what is out of alignment, what is triggering you, what is upsetting you, what is stressing. What are those things? Observing them and then starting to find the tiniest ways that you can learn from what's coming up and like support yourself better, like a better schedule, a better way of nourishing yourself, how to maybe come out of relationships, that kind of thing. Number two, oh God, this is so important, guys. Tell me, how can you do this on your own? It is so disorientating. You feel so unsafe. Your body is like, what the hell is going on? It is essential that you find the space in the world, whether it's online, in person, that can hold you through this. I know you've been in places that haven't been able to hold you through this, and you have felt too much. You have felt like it's your trauma because you're a trauma kid. It's not. Whoever you worked with just hasn't gone this deep. You can't lead someone through this if you haven't been gone this deep yourself. So when I used to be in mentorship and I was like, my business isn't working, like nothing is working, everything stopped working. They would be like, okay, let's do this event. Let's go do this thing out there. Let's start a new program. Let's get you new photos. Let's do an external thing. Rather than what I really needed to do was just get really still and feel what was coming up with me and allow my body and my soul to complete the process, because that's what it needed. And it needs space to do that. It needs love and care and community to do that. If you don't have one, I run one. I have like two tiers. So the number one tier, it ends with me, is a membership. It's low cost. We have at least 2 calls a month. Some months we have more. We always have a new moon and full moon call, but we also have seasonal workshops and we have other workshops. So when people are struggling with a certain thing, I will do a workshop on it. So like people pleasing or something like that. And then you have access to a portal which explains how you deal with different parts of this process. And I will on a call be like, okay, I see where you're at. You need to do a bit of work on your somatics right now. You need to change your routine. It's all on there. And for those of you that really want to align to your highest soul timeline, so you're really ready to go much, much deeper into this, which isn't for everyone, there's level 2, which is overflow. So you get everything that's it ends with me, but then you also have more calls with me. You can voice note me. I can have access to your patterns. Like you can tell me what's kind of going on and I can help you move through this winter at a much deeper level. So I have those two things. They're very different price points. Obviously, we have this online community too. So you can comment below, like, subscribe, share. I love hearing from you. So you can comment or email me. And just let me know like what's coming up, what you need a video on. It really helps me to create. So I love hearing from you. So we have this space, okay, like here in YouTube and on the podcast, but also you can come into our membership or into the overflow mastermind too. So number 3, you got to stop fighting it. Your body and your soul and your intuition knows. It will keep giving you the little breadcrumb of the next step. But you just need to listen, and you really need to take care of your nervous system through this, because it doesn't know who it is anymore, and that's super dysregulating. The final one is so much grief comes up as part of this process, and anger and shame, right? So I've already done a video about processing shame, which you can find below. You want to make sure you're liking and subscribing, because my next video, which will be a shorter one to this one, is going to be on processing anger. So that is like part 2 to this. So the grief of the relationships breaking down, the grief of the losses that you've had, the grief of the old versions of you, that the one that used to give so much and the one that used to chase love, the one that hurt herself to be loved, the balanced relationships you had in your life, people actually dying, it can happen during this process as well. All of these things need space for the emotion to be processed. When I work with people and they want to create these amazing soul aligned results like soulmate, soul purpose, money easily, having a healthy family, all of that kind of jazz, but they want it all soul aligned, feeling really, really good. But if you don't process the grief around what was before, you are very likely to repeat the patterns again and again and again. If you don't give yourself time in the space, right, where the new hasn't come in and you're trying desperately to fill it, you are very likely to repeat the mistakes. So you need to really reflect, like journal, be slow, like I said, winter season, like being prepared for it and just being like, what has this taught me about what my new standard is now? So if that's, I now don't want relationships, friendships that are not reciprocal. I don't want a job where I have to hurt my physical well-being in order to make money or to please other people. Like what would have happened through the experience is that you would have a set of standards, a way that you lived your life before, and now you have a new set. In order to get to that point, you have to sit with your emotions, you have to sit with the space. So, what I normally suggest to clients with a lot of grief that they've avoided, they've been really busy, so they wouldn't have to feel the feelings, is actually just creating a little container of time where you allow yourself to feel it. For those of you that have run away from your emotions because it's not felt safe or have pushed it down, it can be just something simple like for 15 minutes, I'm going to journal on this, or I'm going to watch something really sad and allow myself to cry about my relationship breakdown. It could be listening to some music and just rocking and holding yourself and allowing yourself to be like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's really being there for the parts of you that got hurt, that got disappointed, that felt let down, that felt like traumatized, being there for them like you would to a friend, like you would to somebody else. It can be a small amount of time, so you can just set in like 10 minutes every day when you're being present to what is. I find people are they're going through a dark night of the soul, so it might go on for longer. It's really important to allow yourself to be supported in the right environments who are not going to try to fix how you feel, but they're just going to hold your hand as you move through it. I know it doesn't seem like it, but this moment shall pass. Think about things in your life that were utterly heartbreaking that now you feel okay about. That is what will happen to this as well. But this is an important part of the process that you allow yourself to feel what's happened and be there for yourself. Be your own mother, be your own father, take care of your body, allow yourself to cry. You might find that you're just crying so much more easily after you start to allow. I cry all of the time. Like anything that I'm watching will make me cry about something. Remember, everything is a mirror. So whatever you're seeing or feeling, it's reflecting what's wanting to be processed or alchemized. So when you take the space to process the grief, that's what really can happen. But I want you to know that this isn't for no reason. This is part of your soul evolution. But you have to feel the pain in order to evolve. You can't ignore it. We live in a society that just hates pain. It doesn't want the pain. It's like, could we please get this pain out quickly? I'm afraid that there's gold in this. When I had my heart broken by somebody that I really loved, I don't think he meant to hurt me as much, but he just didn't want me. And that was really painful. The fact that he broke my heart, cracked me open, made me go on a massive healing journey, woke me up, meant that I could have the marriage and the relationship I have to this day. If I hadn't experienced that pain, if I had not experienced that loss, if I had not processed it, I would not have what I have now with my husband. And it's the same as if I had not lost that baby, if I hadn't gone through this huge death and rebirth in my business, if I hadn't gone through the health challenges, I would not be sitting here as somebody that is 44 and has struggled with anxiety her entire life, has not felt safe in the world or in relationships my entire life. and no longer feeling that, right? So that's why this is happening. You are not in this on your own. Just comment power, and I will send you the links to my community, like the low cost membership tier 1 or tier 2, if that feels aligned for you. You do not need to do this by yourself. I can see the dark. I'm totally comfortable with the dark. I've swum around it most of my life because of the childhood that I had. You are not too much. Your trauma is not too much. Your wounds are not too much. In my old life, I was an analyst, a change manager, like a trainer. So I really understand patterns so freaking well. So your patterns and things that you're experiencing, they are not something I haven't seen. So I'll be able to help you to be like, okay, this is what's happening. This is how we navigate our way through it, right? Role here on YouTube and with you guys and my paying clients is to empower you to allow your higher self to lead you through this process. She knows way better than I do, and I know how to help you to get her to lead you, right? And to tidy up all the ego and the trauma patterns and all the things that are keeping you swimming in the dark, right? Because that's that unconscious, that descent, that sender in the water. And when we like pour light into those places, like Sedna, she came out of the sea as this beautiful sea goddess. I know this is hard. You are not on your own. Share in the comments with whatever's going on, how you're going at the moment, anything that you need. I will try and do a video on it. Make sure you like and subscribe because the next video is going to be on probably anger, I'm thinking. So I'll see you in that and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of this community and doing this brave, brave work. I'm so excited to see where this era of Neptune in Aries and this big feminine descent, what's going to happen from the world when more embodied, awake people are doing what their soul came here to do, because the world is going to massively change because of that. But we have to go into the dark first. So if you need any support, you just shout, and I will see you in the next video.